Hey everybody, welcome to Living the 4-Hour Work Week. I'm here with Cameron George. We're both actually here in Costa Rica. Cam, how you doing,
How's it?
brother?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm a little sunburnt, making the transition from the mountain back to the beach. So I'm a little red right now, but I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
Nice, doing so good. So I just want you all to know, Cam was one of the first people that I met as I really started searching for how to make this happen for my family. I was looking for who's really doing it, right? Who's really created systems, who's
Work week. I'm here
who's giving
with
value.
Cameron George.
Hold on
We're
one
both
second,
actually
guys.
here in Costa Rica. Cam, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm a little sunburnt, making the transition from the
Just
mountain
shutting
back to
down.
the
Hold
beach.
on
So
one second,
I'm a little
guys.
red right now, but I'm doing awesome, man. How are you?
Nice, doing so good. So I just want you all to know,
You guys are getting a
Cam was
replay
one
right
of the
now.
first people that I met as I really started searching for how to make this happen for my family. I was looking for who.
I wasn't sure if that was me or not for a
One
second.
sec, you guys. Just shutting down a window. We get that? That fix it? You there, Cam?
Yeah, hopefully that's good.
Okay. All right. So Cam was one of the first people that I met that was really living it, right? And I just not only it wasn't just like we hung out at a mansion in Chicago, right? And it was people like us, right? People from at all levels of the journey, right? People just getting started, people who were really creating abundance in their own life. And what impressed me about you, Cam, was you moved to that level of creating abundance in other people's lives, right? And you can see very clearly these stages. And you've done some amazing things. You've been on a Hollywood-produced reality TV show in Thailand. You've made your best month, right? It's about 126,000 in a month.
Yeah.
Yes, right. That's pretty good. And obviously, that's not a guarantee for anyone else that you're going to make what Cam made. But creating 7 figures in this lifestyle and working just a couple. I know some of them, like one of the systems that we are both involved in. You just put in. I mean, it's not even like the 4-hour work week. You're just doing like what 2-4 hours a week.
I say 2, but that's a stretch. There's months at a time sometimes when I don't really do too much, and it's funny because this was actually just brought up to me by one of my good friends and one of my students recently. He's like, "Man, nobody knows your story," and I thought that was kind of funny because honestly, it's not what I'm the most proud of. I'm the most proud of all the other stories, all the other success stories I've been able to create. I talk more about his particular story or all the other people that we've been able to help. But yeah, I mean, the one particular offer that we both promote, I maybe touch it 2 hours a week. I'm more interested in the lifestyle that allows me to create. And the truth is, I mean, you can create any level of income that you want. It's just going to be based off of the effort and energy that you put into it. I'd personally rather take my time taking my girlfriend for a walk down the beach or going out on a random trip back to the mountains to go snowboarding or something like that. But yeah, it's very, very minimal, if that.
Well, I like what you're saying about the fact that not a lot of people do know your story, because we really would like to hear more of your story. The benefit of this show for my audience is I've gotten a ton of feedback is really it's been less about the advice that people have had, which is helpful, but really it's just about realizing, yes, you can make an incredible income and create a life of freedom for yourself that that is available to you just by figuring out some systems that you don't even have to figure them out. You don't have to. I mean, we don't have to reinvent anything, which is really the amazing thing. You just got to be able to follow instructions and connect with people who are already living it like Cam, like myself, and like Tim talks about in the 4-hour work week, when he had the breakthrough about the 4-hour work week was when he was basically going to have a breakdown because he was working like 80-hour weeks, the opposite of the 4-hour work week. He left his company basically thinking that it was probably going to nosedive into the ground, but he just couldn't handle it. He left, and then when he finally checked in on it, it was running better without him. So you're definitely hitting on some of that, Cam, the power of setting up systems that, I've seen where there's times where I've pulled away from people that I've been helping and coaching and mentoring, and I pull away and they realize, hey, it's time for me to run with this, and they do better than me being there involved and holding their hand, and it's just, that's the power of these systems. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Cam, will you tell us some more of your story, where from your struggle to where you are now?
You want me to start at the struggle or right at the beginning? Because
you start from the right place. You know what we need to hear.
Well, I'll give you a basic overview. I grew up in a small town in British Columbia, Canada, and I kind of grew up with the same mentality that everyone has. It's like, go to school, get a good education, get a job, eat, sleep, work, pay your taxes, die type mentality. And I was actually living in Edmonton, Alberta at the time. I was a third-year electrical apprentice, kind of following the footsteps of my dad, who's an electrician. Love him a ton, watched him work his fingers to the bone his whole life to put together the life for myself and my family. And it was around that time period when I made the kind of the conscious choice that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, that I wanted to take back control of my life. And it was actually what I like to call my line in the sand moment when I was in the shower one morning before work, when I had a freaking panic attack, thinking that I was only going to have in my life with all the people I was surrounded by. I mean, the truth is that you are the 5 people you're surrounded by the most, and the only people I was really surrounded by were 40 to 55, 60 years old, broke, miserable, unhappy, and it scared the living crap out of me, and I started really looking for some solutions. I started looking for a different way, and I had someone in my life at the time. I was actually playing professional paintball, and not many people know that about me. I was playing professional paintball, and the gentleman that owned our team was an entrepreneur. He owned 6 or 7 different car dealerships, and we used to fly around on his private jet, actually. So I used to live like this kind of cool lifestyle beforehand. But I had to quit that when the whole economy turned down, because he owns like Dodge Chrysler dealerships and stuff, and the whole Dodge Chrysler fiasco in 2008. He had to pull back his funds and where he was putting it. So I kind of looked at what he was doing. I was like, how can this guy have this type of lifestyle? Like, this is completely outside of my reality. And I started fiddling around online and looking for a solution. And I ended up putting myself about $36,000 in debt, buying courses and ebooks. Honestly, fumbling through a lot of stuff that before then I kind of thought it was all bullshit. I kind of thought everything online was just weird. I didn't know what it was. There wasn't anyone that I really resonated with, but I was just gonna figure it out. I'm like, there just has to be a better way. So I put myself really far in debt, buying courses and products, getting a little bit of the puzzle over here and a little bit of information over here and over here. But everyone was just trying to sell me information. Nobody was really just genuinely taking the time to show me what was working and to actually help me, to take a vested interest in my success, which is all I was really looking for. So it was at that time that my parents actually helped me out a lot, and they helped me. I never really told this part of my story before. They helped me consolidate a lot of my debt because I was already really far in debt. And then once they did that, is all of a sudden my credit was free again, and I actually went and I put myself in debt again. I came up with $20,000 I didn't have. I maxed out 3 credit cards, a line of credit, and actually ended up selling my car. And I went and I hired my very first mentor when I found someone I actually connected with online who was actually going to show me what he was doing. Not just what he was doing, but the affiliate products he was promoting, how he was promoting them, and what he was doing. He was going to plug me into a community of support where I would be able to learn and grow along with other internet marketers and entrepreneurs. And that was in late 2009. And in early 2010, January 16th, 2010, the day before that, January 15th, I had my first $5,000 day online. And I went in the very next day, January 16th. I'm still like 60 grand in debt. And I quit my job because I realized I just could not afford to work it anymore, especially if I could be making $5,000 in a single day part-time at home. It was like, I'm never going to be able to get out of debt if I keep coming to my job. I'm wasting my time. I mean, the truth is, when you have that employee mindset, most people are busy selling their time. And on the other side of the equation, you have entrepreneurs who are there willing to buy it. And if you're too busy selling your time, you don't really understand how much it is that you're really worth. Fast forward, the next month after that, I did $23,000 in 3 days, and for the first time in my life, I realized that I was actually free. Now, I had some big ups and downs I went on, and in 2011, I went and I moved away to Thailand to put a little lifestyle arbitrage in my life. I managed to get myself out of debt. I was kind of back. I was doing good in my business. And I went there, and I brought my cost of living down so I could invest all my capital into my business. And I had $126,000 a month while I was living out in Thailand. And things were going great. In 2011, I had my first 7-figure year online. We did over $1 million in sales. And then in 2012, I kind of started to get burnt out a little bit. I built my business in a way where it needed me to be there, and I was traveling around, but I was by myself. I'll be honest, I was kind of lonely. My whole vision initially when I came online was to bring my friends with me, was to give back, was to do all of that stuff, and none of them at the time were really interested in what I was doing. They all thought I was absolutely crazy. They actually sat me down at one point for like an honest-to-God intervention. It was like they were so dead set on what I was doing was wrong. Now they're like finally years later trying to like congratulate me and like and comment on my photos on Facebook now, but I honestly, my original vision was just to be able to help and give back, and all I really wanted to do was have fun with my friends and have some more free time to do the things that I used to only be able to do on the weekends. And I left, and I was actually living in Whistler at the time, and a good friend of mine who is actually in the community now, you know who he is, Joe Sieber was my neighbor at the time, and he watched me kind of go through this process where I was just kind of, he didn't realize the internal struggle I was going through at the time, but I was trying to decide what it is that I was going to do. I had a lot of clients having really incredible success. I've had some students from the beginning go on who are doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month right now, who have completely surpassed my personal income, which I love to see. And I had like people that I was helping that I never actually ever even met in person. Like I had one lady at the time who was living out in Australia, had her first 5-figure day online following my training and the curriculum that I'd put together. And it really, I don't want to say it bothered me, I was really happy for her, but it bothered me that I couldn't have that same impact on the people closest to me and my friends. And then I really started looking at what I was doing, and I wanted to take a step back and kind of restructure everything. And I was reading this book at the time called Thresholds of the Mind, written by Bill Harris. And it talks about systems at different organizing levels throughout everything. I mean, from our systems, our water systems to, your muscle systems, everything. Like even just how you have to. It talks about how when a system gets overwhelmed or overloaded, it has to reorganize and restructure in order to be able to kind of evolve, to be able to take that stress that it was put through. And I mean, if you look like at building your muscles, you want to stress them, you want to take them to the peak, to the max of what you're able to do, and break them down so that they'll heal and rebuild to be able to take even more. And I was kind of at that place where I was building, and I ended up becoming, I worked my way up to the point where I was actually a partner with my original mentor in his business. And I just wasn't happy with where I was going. I wanted to be able to give back, and I wanted to be able to help out. So as I left Whistler, I flew out on a vacation with my family to Hawaii. Took everybody to Hawaii, and I just kind of kept traveling around. I stopped doing anything in my business. I just stopped doing absolutely everything. I was just living off of the income and everything that I had built. I went down to Mexico with my buddy, took my family there, and while I was there, I decided to go back to ground zero. That I was just going to leave it all. I was going to take the knowledge and what I had in my computer, and I was just going to start completely from scratch, but I was going to start with my friends. And I went back and I decided to move back and help out my friend Dakota McLaren, who you're familiar with. And I went back, and Dakota wasn't even really open to the concept at first. I kind of went back and I was like, hey man, you should get into business. You should, let's do something here. So he was open to that, but I was actually headed down to a T. Harv Eker Millionaire Mind Intensive. I love doing personal development. I'm doing conferences and stuff, going to conferences all the time. And Dakota wasn't actually going to come with me, but as we were walking out of his house, we walked through the garage, and we walked in on his stepdad actually, like, it was smoking crack. I don't know how else to say it. It sounds rough. It sounds weird. It almost sounds made up. But we actually walked in on his stepdad smoking crack as we were leaving, and Dakota was just rocked. Like, it flipped his world upside down. He's like, let's get out of here. I got to get out of the house. So he came and got in the car with me and came down, and I watched him transform and shift that weekend. And it went from wanting really nothing to do with it to making a shift at this T. Harv Eker event where he started hearing about residual income, about building things online, and these different business philosophies and personal development philosophies that were being shared with him. And he decided that he really wanted to build a business. So he actually picked a traditional network marketing business that he wanted to build. And what we did was he was building it traditionally, and I went in and I took one of my old email lists and I sent an email for it, and I created myself a $3,000 per month income pretty much overnight, qualified for a paid-for BMW, and I created my income basically with sending a couple emails from an email database that I had built in my marketing before. And I basically set myself up for that summer where I was just kind of hanging out with Dakota and really supporting him before he kind of, it's like he didn't get it. He was grinding really hard, and then he looked at me. He's like, you never pick up the phone. He's like, you haven't done a single one of these challenge party things. And I'm just like, well, no, of course not. I'm like, I build my business online, dude. Like, I can't believe it took you months here to really realize before you actually started asking questions. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm like, let's make the shift. And it was at that moment that he left everything, and that's that video where Dakota created that video. We created the video around him, retired at 19. There's that little section where he's in the car. We decided to drive down to San Diego to attend an internet marketing conference, which is based on the company that we actually promote right now. And that was kind of the initial vision that evolved into the company and the culture and the curriculum that I've created now. And honestly, the whole thing was just to be able to start from the ground up with these philosophies and this education and this idea that if a 19-year-old kid can go do this, because what Dakota ended up going on to do is he went on to make over 6 figures in his first year online. If a 19-year-old kid could do this, what could you do with that same information? And that's pretty much been the evolution up until this point, and it's been absolutely incredible journey over the last little bit. And now I'm just kind of going through a restructuring phase again, which I find funny because we've gone on and everything that we put together with that show. I mean, the show was called Project AWOL and everything, and everything that we put together with that has gone on to help a lot of people make some big shifts in their lives, and it's been incredible. I've watched Julian Sherman, I think he's 23 now, 23-year-old guy from Philly, go on to consistently earn $10,000 to $15,000 per month. I watch people like Teresa Farrell, who's an incredible lady who wants nothing more than to just spend some time with her mother and take care of her mother. Go on to have her first $10,000 month, or Karen Ellis have her first $1,500 day, or you, Ashley, go on and completely transform and completely transform your life. Or Adam and Kristen Knackers, who I absolutely love. I've watched them come out to Thailand where we got to sit down, and I watched them change right in front of me. And it was so cool to see that internal shift where you just knew that there was nothing that could stop them, that there was nothing that they weren't gonna do to go on and to make that change to themselves. And the one thing that I like to think that my story is really a testament for, and the one lesson that you can learn from it, is the fact that there's people like myself who've gone out there, who have done it, who have struggled, who have had peaks, had their first $1 million year and pretty much lost it, came back down to nothing and started over again, and had these peaks and valleys, and redefined what I even wanted, redefined what needed to happen, and redefined sort of what was possible. And instead of having to go out there and go through that journey and that struggle, because I wouldn't wish those years of struggle on anyone. There was great times, but the internal battle and the struggle and getting up every single day to focus yourself, to recenter yourself, to get organized, to set your to-do list, and to get the work done, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And what's really cool is that where we're at right now with the internet marketing industry, with the affiliate marketing space, is that no one ever has to go through that again, because they have people like yourself and myself and other leaders in the industry who are sharing just the intimate, bite-sized details that they actually need to go out and take action on to get results right now that's going to make a lasting change in their life, that's going to allow them to go off and start living the 4-hour work week for the first time ever.
So you've hit on so many nuggets, you guys. Anyone who's watching this, do yourself a massive favor and just listen to this again over and over. Listen and take notes, because you hit on the power of mentorship. You hit on the thinking of an entrepreneur. You know, you just go and get the money. Go get the money and spend the money to be around the people who are getting results that you want. If you want to live here in Costa Rica, just spend the money and get around us, get around people who are doing it. If you want to create security in your life, whatever it is you want, just take action on that. One of the things that you hit on, Cam, like your story, like Dakota's story, like my story, there is these specific moments, and I really appreciate how you shared actually the build-up for Dakota, right? The kind of it's like this peeling away of the illusion of how the world is working right now and how it really actually not only can work, but works better, works more naturally. It's actually easier on many levels. You're more aligned with how nature wants you as an intelligent human being to function within it rather than the grind. So for you and your experience, right, we've got an audience right now. They might not have had that experience where the line has been drawn in the sand. Have you found a way for people to either bring that about? Because yours was just, I mean, Dakota walked in on his stepdad smoking crack. My Christmas tree fell down, and it was just, I had this huge realization that it was like this symbol of my whole life possibly falling down at any moment. And you know, my wife just on the ground with her antique ornaments. It was like a moment, you know. How about for those people who haven't had that, and you know, what's your advice for them?
That was the moment when I decided to get started. And the truth is, if you're here watching this right now, you've already done something and made some sort of internal shift, whether you're aware of it or not, that you've attracted this information into your life. You're here right now for a reason. You're not. This didn't just happen. You're here and you're receiving this message because you're meant to hear it. But the truth is, I had to have this mental break and shift before I was ever even going to be on a webinar like this. So you're beyond my line in the sand moment. You're beyond the Christmas tree. You're beyond walking in on somebody destroying their lives that you thought was the epitome of success. You're beyond that already. And the real shift, like, that was when Dakota made the shift to come out and to start moving in that direction. The real shift we caught on tape as we were driving back from San Diego, when I seen his belief go through the roof. And he says it, he's like, I'm going to do it. He set his goal, he set his intention, he's like, I'm going to do it. He's like, I don't give a shit what it takes. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to crush out this goal, and I'm going to make it happen. And how he got to that level of certainty and level of clarity is by coming down to an event and getting around people. He was around me all the time. In fact, one time when I went to visit him after Thailand, I was staying in, he just moved out of his parents' place. He was staying in this little rinky-dink place. He just comes home from his job at work, and him and our other buddy are sitting there playing video games, dicking around, and I'm in the background, and I closed $50,000 in sales in 2 hours right behind him on a coaching call doing some business coaching and consulting, and they were blown away. They're like, what? But at the same time, hadn't really resonated with them. But then they had heard me on these calls, and they had heard like this UK Indian sort of accent. He had heard me doing coaching calls with him all the time, and it was another student of mine. And when we actually went down to this event, he seen that student. He heard that voice, and it really like kind of caught him like, what? And he looks over, and he's standing on stage with a $40,000 check, and that's when it really hit him. He's like, this was his breakthrough, where so many people put people up on a pedestal where it's like, oh, you're up here, and you had all these things happen for you, and you're so lucky. And what Dakota did is he seen that, and he said, if this frickin' guy can do it, he's like, if this guy can do it, I am going to crush it. And because we always so often want to look out and reference and relate ourselves, but it was seeing it, it was being around it to really have this reference point to realize, you know what, I can do this too. And I've always had that level of belief that you can be, do, or have anything that it is that you want. And when I decided to come into this industry, I didn't look around and be like, what are the average people doing? What are people doing that are having trouble? I'm like, who's succeeding? Who has what I want? What is it that they're doing? What is it that they believe? What actions are they taking in order to get their results? Because I know that there is nothing different. There's nothing different between them and me. There's nothing different between you and I and anybody who's watching this right now that wants to have this types of result, that wants to have six-figure months, that wants to do $10,000 a month, that wants to start having $5,000 days. I mean, again, average earnings, the average person doesn't make that type of money online because the average person does absolutely nothing. The average person never really gets started. And if you really just want to, what I would say and what I've always done to inspire change and to understand the science of transformation, it's to understand that sometimes you need to inspire people a little bit. Sometimes people need to borrow your belief a little bit. And sometimes you need to believe in people enough to get them to make a change for themselves. Like Julian Sherman, who I talk about all the time, I was on a first coaching call with him. He's like, my man, do you really think I can do this? He was in college at the time, 21 years old in college, in business school, and he hated it. He absolutely hated it. He's like, do you really think I can do this? And I had to look him straight in the eyes and be like, I know you can do this. There is nothing special about me. I would love to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and tell you that I'm great, that I'm the best, that all these incredible things about me. But the truth is, I have this information. I know a couple things right now that you maybe don't know. And I'm open and ready and willing to share it with you. And if you take action on it, of course you can have these exact same results. There's no reason in the world why you can't.
I love that. The power of a good mentor, you guys, is they're gonna just nail it on the truth. And what I was hoping, Cam, that you would say, which I knew you would say, is that people here watching this right now, you've already gone far enough, and really you've already gone past the point of no return. No one can watch this and remain happy, and it's the Matrix, right? You watch this, you stick in, you either if you just stay this long, you're personally invested. But the difference that I've noticed in my students, in myself, and what you're talking about with everyone that you've referenced is this decision moment that happens, and you have to reinforce it over and over. But the reality is, you're going to go through times that are challenging for you, but when you've made a decision that you're going to get free no matter what, you're going to live your purpose, you're going to live what makes you happy, something inside you turns on that you almost welcome the obstacles. Now, obviously, you're going to use wisdom and you're going to avoid obstacles as much as you can, like Cameron's talking about. Learn from people who've already been through mistakes so you don't have to. But whatever breakthrough you have to have when you've made the decision that no matter what it takes, you're going to do it. It doesn't matter. You celebrate when it's the bigger one because you're like, you already know the end of the story. You already know you're going to be on the other side of it. And Cam, so now, thank you so much, by the way, for sharing your story, because just the amount of truth and direction that's within what you shared, you guys, it's just a gold mine. So now, for yourself, as you look into the future, have you gone through a process of like envisioning what you want crafting into this next stage of your life?
Every single day. Every single day. It's actually a part of my day. I get up and where would I put it? I get up and now I sit out here and I look at this view and I read this book, which I have all my clients read. It's called The Magic. And it really talks about the power of gratitude and the emotional state that you really get yourself in. And I get up every single day. And first of all, I engineer my day. I engineer my day to make sure that I'm doing things for myself first. I'm taking care of my mind. I'm taking care of my body. That I'm doing those things first. And I set up and I engineer my day, but I've also engineered a part into my day where I'm always visualizing, focusing on the future, where I'm deliberately creating, where I'm not just allowing life to happen to me. I'm not fitting in the mold of someone else's work week, but I'm consciously creating what I want to do from where I'm living here right now. I mean, I only picked out this spot like a week and a half ago. I moved here a week ago. I picked it out like right before I came down here. I found it online. I was like, that's the place. And I just went there on a whim, because before I was living up in Canada. I was snowboarding for 6 months. I was living somewhere ski in, ski out, where I would literally walk down to my doorstep, strap on my snowboard, ride away, snowboard all day with my friends on what was pretty much like having my own private mountain, ride back down into my doorstep, come inside, nourish myself, and then I would work on my business, and I would engineer little chunks of it when I wanted to work. And the truth is, I enjoy working on my business so much now. It's incredible. The truth is, when we talk about income, what I did is I created myself an income promoting an affiliate marketing product that created me the freedom and lifestyle that I could have so that I could do the things that I really enjoy. I really love building businesses, bigger businesses that actually aren't even paying right now. And I love I love surfing, I love snowboarding, I love doing stuff like that, but I'm always consciously creating and choosing what I want to have and where I want to be. And I personally believe that you can have it all. That there's the only limitations you really have are the limitations you put on yourself. No matter where it is that you want to live, no matter how much you want to travel, all you really need to do is decide what that is, and you can start reverse engineering from there to break down to what you actually need to do on a daily basis in order to accomplish it. And the truth is that there's no goal too big or too small for you to go out and for you to reach. The real thing, the real thing that people need to do is they need to actually start choosing what it is that they want. And the crazy thing to me is that, as easy and simple as that sounds, is that that's the one thing that most people haven't done. And it's step one, is actually knowing what you want. I mean, if you can't see yourself somewhere, how can anybody else? Because it all starts with you. And the real big shift for me happened when I really started doing personal development. I really started working on myself. I really started reading books, because the truth is I never read books before. I'd come home from work, I'd play video games. In high school, I would buy book reports off my classmates. Like, I never, ever, ever read. And the first book I ever read was Think and Grow Rich. But the big shift happened for me when I started working on myself, when I started realizing, you know what, and it's kind of this one phrase, like, if it is to be, it's up to me. There's nobody else out there that is responsible for my success, that's responsible for my happiness, that's responsible for my fulfillment, that's responsible for me taking care of my body. Nobody else is going to move me down to Costa Rica. I actually have to pack my own bags, book my own flight, and get on it in order to get there. And that when you start being very conscious in the actions that you're taking, and you start being very conscious in what you're willing to accept for yourself in your life, that's when a whole new world opens up to you. And the truth is, I mean, everything that we're doing online, living the 4-hour work week, the type of business models and stuff that we create, that we've created and that we leverage, are really just a vehicle that allow us the freedom to make all these other choices, to have this entire new menu of options where it's like, I met my girlfriend while we were living up snowboarding, and she was working at a radio station. And things started getting pretty serious, and I'm like, look, babe, like, I think you should, I mean, where do you want to go when the season's over? Because, like, I'm not just hanging around because you're at this job here. There's no need for you to work a job. Like, there's zero reason for it. I'm like, where do you want to go? And it was kind of hard for her to get her head around at first. But it's like, we can go, I'm like, literally, like, we can go anywhere. Like, throw a dart. Where do you want to go? And it's like, that's really hard for some people to imagine or comprehend, but it's like anywhere. There's not any place that you can throw a dart on that globe that we cannot go to. Because I can run this business, we can have our income stream, we can create our life anywhere that it is that we want. And I believe that sitting down and taking that little bit of time every single day to really focus and get clear on what it is that you want is one of the most powerful things that you can do, because you can start focusing your energy and your attention there. And the more your energy, your focus, and attention is there, the more you're going to start pulling yourself towards it. The more it's going to stop being something like, oh, I wish, to being like, you know what, I'm just going to go get it. I'm just going to go do it. For instance, I mean, do you ever hear someone whine, be like, my cupboards are empty, like, I have to go to the grocery store? Like, you don't ever really hear that, right? Or someone be like, oh my God, my truck needs gas, my car needs gas, I really have to go to the gas station. No, what do? You're like, oh, I got to get groceries. You schedule it in, you go get it done. Or, oh, I need gas, I'm just going to swing by the gas station, I'm going to get it. It's the same thing once you have the experiential knowledge of creating an income and creating money at will using the internet. It's not like, oh, I can't pay my bills, what's going on? Like, once you have the knowledge and once you've done it once, you have your first $500 day or your first $1,000 day. Anytime you hear someone worry about money, it's like, what are you doing? Just go get it. Like, you can create money at will anytime you want, and it's like the equivalent to me now of hearing, it's like when I hear someone kind of worry or whine about money or anything that they they want, it's like, just go get it. It's like whining about gas. You're just gonna go do it. and you know experientially that you can just go do it anytime that you want. I mean, sometimes I'll let things come down a little bit, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to do work for 2 days here, babe. We're gonna set aside the beach for a second. I'm gonna run some webinars. I'm gonna do some promotions. I'm gonna send some emails, and we're gonna go get it again. And I think when people can really they can connect with someone like yourself or like myself, and they can see that that's possible, then it's going to help them start dreaming a little bit more, that it's going to have them just say, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to take action. I'm going to connect with Ashley. I'm just going to make it happen, and I'm going to see where it goes.
So you hit on, Cam, what we talk about a lot here, and that's the epic forces. And the epic forces are envision, proclaim, integrate, and collaborate. So it's this process over and over. People have to engineer or envision the life that they want. They need to proclaim it so it doesn't stay some secret. They need to put it out there to the public so that that energy is working for them. They need to integrate it into their life, exactly what Cam is talking about here. So it's not just some dream you proclaim to the world, but yet you go on with your daily life. Then you got to collaborate. You got to connect with other people living it. And so what happens, these energies that Cam is talking about, it's not about grinding. It's not about pushing more and having to put in more time, although you may have to. It's about reversing these forces that are working against you. Because if you don't have a clear vision of what you want, the closer you get to moving away from what you have now, the more that very force is going to work against you, rather than carry you to it. When you have a clear vision and you've sat down for just 10 minutes getting clear and writing out exactly what you want, that thing that just fires you up, right? I mean, for me, it was surfing, right? I got to get back to surfing. Like, I just said the word and it was like, yes, that's what I want, right? You've got something like that. Maybe you got to find it again. You get clear, you write it, and you start to craft around it. You put the meat on those bones. Where is it? What's the balcony look like? What's the view in the background? What are you going to do in the morning when you wake up? And then you proclaim that to people, and rather than it being your little secret, it's the thing that now you have pressure from other people because you put it out on the world, and you always set dates on things. So we put it out onto Facebook that we were going to be moving between Christmas and New Year's. We hadn't even sold our house, but we put it out there, and then all of a sudden the ball started rolling, right? And then if we just sat there and we had to have the yard sale, my business blew up at that point. We got our house sold, all because it was integrated into our life. And then that was the point when I really started collaborating with people, connecting with people, because there's going to be a lot of people around you, like Cam, you were talking about, where it's like a straight up intervention, right? They're like, we have got to rein this guy in, because clearly he's believing things that, I mean, it just can't be. How can it be, And then it's like, yet it happens, right? And I'm sure you've known people, we're just normal people. I went to a continuation high school, like after the crash, and that's where a lot of you, I know you find yourself, whether you're, maybe you were looking forward to retirement and now you're not able to retire, or you had a vision of what your job was going to be, and then it's like the whole job market thing isn't as secure as it used to be. It's not, right? It might not have been then either. So you're here, really, my advice is just follow what Cam's talking about here. And for me, and I know, I mean, every single person that he's talked about here, I believe every single person you've talked about is a blogger through the Empower Network system. Is that, I mean, Julian, Dakota, you, Shakir, I think just about everyone you're talking about making these $40,000 checks.
Every one of them, Julian's only done about $80,000 in his business, but almost every one of them has actually done about 6 figures now. Shakir's done over $1 million. Every right? Yeah.
Yeah, and the power of it, one, is the system is set up so that you can really build your own business, own presence online, and the education's there. Number two is because it's built on blogging. It's actually it's built into the system for you to get clear on exactly what you want, and then you write it, right? There's nothing more powerful than recording a video or writing down exactly what you want, and then rather than it being in some secret journal, you proclaim it to the world, right? You post this blog post, you share it with the world, and then we've got 8 core commitments that we follow every day that's totally integrated in, big part of why we read so much. And then we get to events, right? There's nothing more powerful, right? We connect online, right? You're looking at us here, which is great. We love you and we're glad you're here. You need to come to an event. There's an event coming up in New Orleans, and you need to meet us. I need to be able to look you in the eye and have you come up and say, hey, I've been watching your show. Someone said this show is like crack, right? So, feed yourself with what really gets you closer to what you want. So we've included a button here for you. It's $25 to get started, and that's another reason why people are succeeding at this. It's a business like anything else. Cam, you spent like 40, 50,000. I spent like 12,000. And the funny thing is, you guys, when I first learned about this business, I went to another event taught by 7-figure earners, and it was a guy from Australia put this event together, and he said, you got to always be learning. And he said, I scheduled this event right here so that I could go to another event and learn from them. And everyone in this event said, it was like this murmur went through the room, and he moved on quickly because he realized, like, he kind of got everyone thinking, what was the event that this guy went to? And I figured it out really quick. It was the Empower Network event in San Diego, the one that you and Dakota drove to. And I said, if this guy, 7-figure, is going to learn, who's this guy going to learn from? You know what I mean? So that was when I got started, and it changed our life, the education that you get. So that's my advice to you as a mentor to you. Just click that button right there and get started so that I can email you and schedule with you an appointment and help you get started with crafting your vision for your life and really getting clear so you can start getting some of the freedom and the lifestyle that you want to create for yourself. Cam, thanks so much for being with us, man. It's so good. Cross paths. Cam's now just a couple hours away from me, so we're going to hit the water and surf.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be a blast. Thanks for having me out, man. It was fun to share.
You bet, brother. Thank you, everyone, for being with us on Living the 4-Hour Work Week. We'll be here again next week, and we'll talk to you soon.